In the Hyborian Age, there was no figure more legendary than Conan the Cimmerian. A barbarian king born and bred in the wastelands of the north, Conan's life was one of savage greatness. He was a king, a pirate, a mercenary, a warrior. But in his early days, when he first left Cimmeria to scour the lands in the south, Conan was a thief. In The Tower of the Elephant, by Robert E. Howard, Conan attempted the grandest heist of his life, and one that was far more absurd than he could have predicted. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Exploring Fiction. I believe The Tower of the Elephant is Robert E. Howard's greatest Conan work, and that it serves as the perfect sword and sorcery story. Not only does it contain the usual fast-paced, action-packed sword and sorcery fantasy of Howard's other Conan tales, but also elements of sci-fi and horror, which only heighten its reputation. So, what's the story of The Tower of the Elephant, and what makes it so great? Why do I believe it to be the best sword and sorcery story of all time? Let's explore. The Tower of the Elephant is split into three major sections. In the first section, Conan finds himself in a tavern in a Zamorian city in a section known as the Mall. The city is stated to be the heart of thievery, where everyone who roams the streets is a crook or miscreant of some kind. Conan blends into the shadows of the tavern, listening in wait for any information that can be of use. From a fat Kothian with a loud mouth, the barbarian hears talk of the prize he seeks, the jewel called the Heart of the Elephant. Conan reveals himself, questioning the Kothian about the gem and who or what guards it. Performing drunkenly for the other patrons of the dusky tavern, the Kothian reveals all he knows to Conan, though it isn't much, but the crowd laughs and mocks the Cimmerian. Conan, still unversed in the nuances of civilized society, is confused by their laughter. The Kothian explains that the heart of the elephant is impossible to steal, which Conan denies. Taking this as a personal affront, the Kothian draws his weapon, and chaos ensues. The candle lighting the rooftop balcony is snuffed out, and when the dust settles and the candle is relit, the Kothian is dead, and Conan is gone. In the second section of the story, Conan sneaks through the religious quarter of the city, though his destination is unchanged. Reaching the outer wall guarding the tower, Conan hears the steady clanking of boots, and realizes there is a guard on patrol, as he'd expected. As the footsteps die away, the Cimmerian vaults over the wall, and soon finds the guard strangled to death and lying in the open. He peers about in the dark, trying to find the culprit, and soon spots a fat man in the shadows. The man reveals himself to be Taurus of Nemedia, the renowned Prince of Thieves. Even Conan recognizes the name, though he hadn't pictured the man to be such a husky figure. The two men realize they're after the same treasure, and agree to lend each other aid, and so continue on, up and over the inner wall. Conan's new alliance comes in quite handy, as Taurus kills the lions guarding the tower with a powder he'd stolen in a feat that gave him much fame. Waiting for the poisonous substance to disperse, the men creep to the side of the tower, and are attacked by a lion who'd escaped the fumes. Only Conan's barbaric senses, speed, and fighting ability allow him to kill the beast, and it is here that the alliance comes in quite handy for Taurus. Expressing his thanks, the Prince of Thieves goes on to toss a grappling hook to the top of the tower, where it sticks on the first try. Praising their luck, Taurus and Conan scale the smooth, glowing structure and plant their feet on its roof. Covered in gleaming gems of all sizes and colors, the building amazes Conan even more up close. Ahead, he spots a chamber that seems to lead into the tower from above, and he and his partner in crime approach it. Taurus opens the door and tells Conan he should inspect the roof and the ground below one more time to make sure they aren't heard, and though the barbarian is suspicious of betrayal, he acquiesces. It is all for the better, however, as Taurus stumbles out of the chamber, gurgling and clawing at his throat, and soon collapses and dies. Conan sees that his only injuries are multiple piercings of the neck by some unknown monster. Stealing his courage, Conan leaves the body of Taurus behind him and enters the chamber himself. About halfway to the other side, a hideous black spider pounces at him from the ceiling, intent on a second kill. The barbarian is no easy prey, however, as he evades and even attacks the arachnid in retaliation. Eventually, the spider resorts to the cowardly method, spinning an inescapable web throughout the room so as to trap the Cimmerian. Conan, realizing the great danger of his situation, flits about the room, entering into a deadly dance of will and speed with the titanic spider. Finally, the latter wins, wrapping Conan's ankle in web. Falling to the floor, the barbarian scrambles even as death stares him in the face. Grabbing hold of a gem-filled chest, he heaves it at the spider and crushes it. Conan now has a moment to breathe, but wastes little time. He pries himself free and crosses through the threshold of the next door to whatever new doom awaits beyond. In the third and final section of the story, Conan descends a set of silver stairs and stops outside the first door he encounters. While more steps lead farther and farther down the tower, something draws him to the room outside of which he stands. He pushes on the ivory door, and it swings inward silently. Conan stalks through the chamber, but stops in his tracks. Before him sits a creature of mythical and existential horror. Possessing a human body shaded green, and the head of an elephant, the figure sits so still, Conan at first believes it to be an idol. But the thing snaps open its eyes and begins to move, sending fear coursing through the normally fearless barbarian. Any lesser man would have lost his wits, but Conan can only stand silent. He sees the being is blind and chained to its seat, and the monster speaks in a wispy, monotonous voice as something from a faraway place and time. Touching Conan's face with its trunk, the creature realizes he isn't Yara, the evil sorcerer who occupies the Tower of the Elephant. Yet it seems to know much about Conan, such as how many people he's killed that night. Trusting in Conan, the being recounts its story. It explains it is from the green planet Yag, a place from which it was cast out long ago with its peers, and was forced to settle on Earth. The weeping, blind elephant head says that all the outcasts lost their wings and thus were stuck on this planet, where they watched countless civilizations rise, fall, and rise anew. The beast's name is Yag-Kosha of the planet Yag, the last of its kind, at least here on Earth. Yag-Kosha's wisdom is vast, but that did little to save it from deception. For one of its apprentices in magic, the infamous Yara, pried loose a secret best kept out of the minds of men from Yag-Kosha, and used it to blind and imprison the primordial being. Yara used his prisoner to build the grand Tower of the Elephant and amass great wealth, Yag-Kosha explains, while still silently sobbing. However, Yag-Kosha has one last gift for his traitorous captor. He relates his plan to Conan, who is to be his vessel, and the barbarian jumps to action. From a nearby altar, Conan grabs the crystalline, orb-like jewel that he knows is the heart of the elephant, and then carves out Yag-Kosha's heart per the beast's orders. Holding out the heart over the grand gem, Conan watches as the drops of blood are absorbed into it, turning it crimson, just as Yag-Kosha said it would. Conan takes the heart of the elephant in his hands and leaves the room, yearning to turn back, but he cannot. For the death of the monstrous Yag-Kosha he knows he mustn't see. Trundling down more of the silver stairs, Conan comes upon Yara's chambers, where the wizard lies in a trance on his couch. The barbarian places the heart of the elephant before the sorcerer and utters the words bade to him by Yag-Kosha. And after Yara awakens in a rage, his cries soon turn to those of horror. For the first time questioning his senses and his very mind, Conan watches as before him, Yara shrinks smaller and smaller until he's ultimately absorbed into the orb. Peering into its murky depths, Conan sees the tiny form of Yara screaming and sprinting about in terror, running from the form of a winged green man with the head of an elephant. Conan knows this is Yag-Kosha, free to take his revenge at last. Following the beast's final request, Conan leaves the heart of the elephant behind and departs through the front door of the tower. All the guards lay dead by some mystical power of the being from Yag, and Conan can only watch as the Tower of the Elephant crumbles to the earth, breaking into a million shards once and for all. Some of Robert E. Howard's other Conan tales are far more intense, gritty, or action-packed, yet I believe the Tower of the Elephant stands above all. While his entire world of the Hyborian Age is already quite monumental in scope, the addition and ancient backstory detailed by Yag-Kosha lends the story a sense of primordial depth unrivaled by the other Conan stories. Yag-Kosha as a character is a being of horror and dread. It is an archaic, unknowable monster from a time and place incomprehensible to the mortals of the real world. Such a character invokes existential dread from the moment it appears. But even that isn't enough, as there's a somber aspect to Yag-Kosha as well. Though great and unknowable in full, the Elephant Man figure has been enslaved to an evil wizard, and the tears falling from the blind eyes create a sense of strange despair. It's like a traumatizing dream that cannot be fully comprehended. It makes the reader sad, but we cannot understand why. There are sci-fi elements to the Tower of the Elephant as well. The lore and history recounted by Yag-Kosha, and the style in which it's written, screams sci-fi. Yag-Kosha is from a different planet entirely, the green place called Yag, where it's assumed beings like he are the standard. His tale of banishment and the loss of his wings is a tragedy, like many sci-fi stories. From his time on Earth, he illustrates to Conan all he has seen, scaling down the entire history of the Hyborian Age to mere paragraphs. Similar to many sci-fi stories, Yag-Kosha's tale describes entire eras of man and beast in a passing breath. All this makes Yag-Kosha Howard's strangest character, and the Tower of the Elephant his strangest work. No writer tops Robert E. Howard in the realm of sword and sorcery, and his story The Tower of the Elephant may be his most unique tale. In it, Conan the Cimmerian seeks to steal a legendary gem, only to come face to face with a benevolent horror beyond comprehension. The Tower of the Elephant goes beyond normal sword and sorcery, incorporating horror and sci-fi elements as well. Even amongst Conan's stories, it stands alone. So, that's all for this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Check out my website, russellawellsauthor.com, for exclusive fiction and more, and sign up to my mailing list for free exclusive content. The links for both are in the description below. So, like always, I will see you next time.